Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm not going to go with the book. I'm just going to go with some explanation of why is these monuments or religious structures or secular buildings were made. What is the importance of this in our history? Right, after that I'll come in reading to it. So it's better I explain it to you in this way. A monument is actually a basic structure that was explicitly created to commemorate 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 a person or event, or which has been relevant to a social group as a part of the remembrance of historic times or cultural heritage due to its artistic, historical, political, technical, and architectural importance. Monument. Why is it important to the study of architectural history? It helps us to understand the landscape and the urban development or the urban built development, beginning with the past times or the ancient times and progressing to contemporary life, coming forward contemporary life. Understanding such history is very important in, I guess, fostering appreciation for how surrounding structures affect our lives in a broader cultural context. Right? You have this cultural history which is coming through, right? Architectural history of building houses is coming through from the time of the Mohenjo-daro Harappa time. Right? Like architecture of India is very rich, terrific, we can say it. India has the land of, what do you say, architectural marvels. Seven wonders of architecture in India we have. Taj Mahal, Agra in Uttar Pradesh. We have Nalanda, the two Nalanda ruins, Nalanda, Bihar, very important. The Galden Namgel Laste of Twang, Arunachal Pradesh. Ruins of Vijayanagar Empire, Hampi, Karnataka. Sun Temple, if you have ever been to Odisha, please go to this Sun Temple. It's a built-in watch. I'm seriously telling you, the Sun Temple is a built-in watch. It had the highest powerful magnet to pull ships from the sea. It has a watch. It's a chakra, the Sun Temple, the wheel of the chariot, the sun god chariot, the Vahan of the sun god, Indra. Sun god is Indra, right? His wheel is a watch. According to the sun, you will see it goes around and the time it gives you the time. With the sun, shadow. Marvelous. Just, we are so rich in this culture and architecture, how people were so much educated. Why don't we get educated? They were educated. How did they make it? Which college, which institute, which tuition, which tuition house, or which, coaching center did they go? They didn't have any coaching centers. They didn't have any schools at that time. But they learnt. They had that will to learn, and today we are following that. Our forefathers have done it. Right? The Iron Pillar of Delhi. There's one monument in Kolkata also. Extensive, impressive architecture of rich histories are a tribute to India's deep and complex heritage. Nalanda, Bihar, the Vitala temple complex in Hampi, Karnataka, the Sun temple which I said, Konark, Odisha, Arunachal Pradesh, the monastery, the Twang monastery, the Makkah Masjid in Hyderabad, Telangana, Hawa Mahal, Jaipur, Rajasthan, Taj Mahal obviously Uttar Pradesh. So how could we describe our architecture of our country? How would we describe it? It's into its roots of history, culture and religion. No one has brought the culture to us. No one has transferred the culture to us. We have taken it from the past. It's coming up. Roots. So whatever is growing from that root is we. The roots are strong. The history of India is very strong. Solid roots of culture and religion. Among a number of architectural styles, traditions, the contrasting Hindu temple architecture and the Indo-Islamic architecture are the best known historical styles. Now, Hindu temple is divided into the architecture mainly the Dravidian and the Nagara styles. It's a vast topic. It will not finish so easily. Okay. And there is a vast diversity also of our ancient Indian architecture. Okay, it's very rich in its culture, history, religion, among number of architectural styles and traditions, contrasting the I told you about the Indo-Islamic and the Hindu temple culture. They have a number of regional styles within them. An early example of town planning we get was the Harappan architecture of the Indus Valley civilization. People lived in cities with baked brick houses, streets in a grid layout, elaborate drainage system, water supply systems, granaries, citadels, clusters of large non-residential buildings. Much other early Indian architecture was in wood, which has not survived. Right? Hindu temple architecture is mainly divided into the Dravidian and Nagara styles. What is the Dravidian style? Dravidian architecture, or the South Indian temple style, we can say. South Indian temple style is an architectural idiom in Hindu temple architecture that emerged in the South India, part of the Indian subcontinent, right? South India and in Sri Lanka. That type of designing. What was the Nagara type? Again, that's also a Hindu. It had this mandapa, sikhara, and this ardhamandapa as the main form of Hindu architecture, many varieties of style. But the basic nature of this Hindu temple remains the same, with the essential features in the inner sanctum, inner part, the Garbha Griha, or the womb chamber, where the primary murti or the image of the deity is housed, the Garbha Griha. The Garbha Griha, if I'm right, if I guess I'm not wrong, I don't know about too much about Hindu religion or culture, but I get to know more about it when I mix with people, I talk to people, this diverse culture in India, religions in India. So I am also an Indian, I get to know, I never discredit anyone, I love to know. Now, Dravidian architecture flourished during the rule of the Rashtrakutas, the Hoysalas, the Cholas, the Cheras, and the Pandyan empires, as well as the Vijayanagar empire. Now, who brought into Indo-Islamic kingdom the Islamic culture or the Islamic architecture into India? Can you say? Or do you have any clue about it? It was the Delhi Sultans. When they based their Islamic empire in Delhi that stretched over the large parts of India subcontinent for 320 years, 1206 to 1526. Five dynasties ruled. Five dynasties ruled, right? If we go by a sequence, you can come to the slave dynasty, the Mamluk, 1206 to 1290, the Khilji dynasty, 1290 to 1320, the Tughlaqs, 1320 to 1415, the Sayyid, 1414 to 1441, the Lodhi dynasty, 1451 to 1526. It covered parts of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and some parts of southern Nepal. Now the Muslim sultanates, the new Muslim sultanates such as the Bengal Sultan breaking off from the Vijayanagar Empire and the Mewar in the Indian subcontinent. 1526, the Sultanate was conquered and succeeded by the Mughal Empire. Now the Sultanate, the Sultans actually brought in this integration of to this Indian subcontinent into a global cosmopolitan culture. As seen concretely in the development of the Hindustani language and the Indo-Islamic architecture. What is this Hindustani language which came in? Of northern India and Pakistan, known as literary forms of Hindi Urdu and historically as Hindu, Hindvi, Rekhta, Dehlavi, Hindi, Urdu. It's an Indo-Aryan language. Right? Deriving its base primarily from the Western Hindi dialect of Delhi. And then came in this Indo-Islamic architecture, same. The Arabs present in the Sindh, the development of Indo-Islamic culture began an earnest establishment of Delhi capital, of the Ghurid dynasty. Being one of the few powers to repel attacks by Mongols from the Chagatai Khanate, and for enthroning one of the few female rulers in Islamic history, Razia Sultan, who reigned from 1236 to 1240. Bakhtiyar Khalji annexation was responsible for the large-scale decretion of Hindu and Buddhist temples, leading to the decline of Buddhism in East India and Bengal, and the destruction of universities and libraries. Mongolian raids on the West Central Asia's migration of fleeing soldiers, learned men, mystic traders were going, artisans of those regions into the subcontinent. They are establishing Islamic culture in India and the rest of the region. This is all about it. Destructions of cities happened, attacks on civilians happened, discretion of temples, universities, libraries happened, economy went down, demographics, culture, agriculture, everything was totally hodgepodge. But we came into prominence. India became one of the highest, richest. And then this British colonial period, European styles including the neoclassical Gothic revival and barbecue came prevalent across India. The amalgamation of this Indo-Islamic and European styles led to a new style known as the Indo-Saracenic style, or the Indo-Saracenic style. Saracenic. Mostly British architects, our Calcutta, the British Raj buildings, they had a different style again. Mumbai, colonial culture came in. Le Corbusier, who designed the city of Chandigarh, architects towards it actually influenced a generation of architects towards modernism in the 20th century. Then in 1991, the economic reforms bolstered the urban architecture of India as the country became more integrated with world's economy, trading. The Vastu Shastra remains influential in India's architecture during the contemporary era. We have Jain architecture of the early ages, the Mughal Empire, the Rajput architecture, the Sikh architecture, the Maratha architecture, the Bengal architecture, the European colonial architecture, British colonial era. We have the Indo-Saracenic, the Neoclassical, Art Deco. Can you imagine? There is so much which we can't take in further. So I'll come back in the next video.